There was at least 3 indie horror games that released on December 13th of 2024. Glitched Out, The Chem Factory, and Joyful 2, which we do not talk about.
Get some help.
We are reviewing Glitched Out today because I feel really bad that I have not covered it on this channel yet, and I really want to. The way I'm going to review it is going to be the exact same way I reviewed the Find Frankie video about like a month ago or so, where I explain the entire game and share my thoughts at the end. Except that was the full game, this is only one chapter. For those who didn't know, Glitched Out is made by a popular YouTuber, Super Horror Bro, whose main focus is on the horror genre of the gaming industry, and he has finally released his first part of his game. But is it good? Well, let's find out. The game starts out with what it seems that we are waking up. I'm not too sure how we hit our heads, but we did. And the first thing we see is one of the most unique art styles we have for indie horror games since Bendy and Don't Fret. Well, the demo, presumably. We have reached our first puzzle, which is finding a way into a locked door, which I won't be too harsh since it is Super Horror Bro's first game. So a locked door puzzle is probably simple to code, especially for a first time dev. Oh yes, and this entire puzzle is pretty much referencing FNAF, preferably Security Breach. Behind that door is a gadget who's pretty much your best friend throughout the entire chapter. Its name is Chip, and he's, or whatever it is probably the best character in the entire game. He teaches you how to do 3 puzzles you would have to do throughout the entire game. They're pretty simple to understand, by the way. After you open the door, you enter the atrium, which literally looks like a pixel gun 3D map. You do repeat the same thing you did from the previous room. You may think it's over once you punch in the code.
Two hours later.
The Bureau is home to some of the greatest technical minds living today. That includes...
But it's not. You gotta hack a system because their security system is really amazing, at least in the atrium. The door opens, and after what you do in there, we are greeted by another blocked door, which takes our trip down to the basement where you see the scariest thing in the entire chapter. After that jump scare, we enter an ultra kill level. Now, this is actually a stealth section of the game, and the only stealth section of this chapter. And I like how they introduce it. They put out a simple puzzle and objective, as well as introduce the first monster in the entire game, the Seeker, which I think has a very cool design. And I do predict we will see it again in the future chapters. So the entire goal of the stealth section is to make Seeker get mad at an alarm, which will allow us to hack the door we need to enter to progress. Behind that door is Celeste Emporium, which is supposed to be a place to purchase items, which I'm gonna be honest, I was kind of disappointed on how it operated, because I was expecting it to be a place like the Upgrade Chip or myself or somewhat. But it turns out to be a place to progress through the story to open a door and to retrieve a flashlight. If you didn't know, Celeste is played by the talented Lauren Singer, who's known for playing Alice in Alice and Angel in Bending Ink Machine and Dark Revival, and I think she did a fantastic job on bringing the character to life. I do hope we see Celeste in the future, and I have a good feeling we will. Celeste Emporium acts like one big puzzle since you need to collect enough eyes to buy a flashlight, which you do use a lot in the next section of the game. This isn't stress-inducing at all since the map in Chapter 1 is pretty small and you don't ever enter that ultra kill basement again. But you do need to complete a fetch quest, and Glitched Out does what no other game does, and it's adding relaxing music to your fetch quest experience. And also make the objects you need to collect very obvious, since they have a glowing material. After the double fetch quest event ends, you do obtain the flashlight and go even deeper into the red basement, which will contain my favorite entity in the entire chapter. It's called the Lurker, and it's basically a plant enemy that lives in your walls, in my walls, and everyone's walls. I really love its design. I think it looks really cool to look at. And I think the Lurker has some of the best animations in this game. Inside the Lurker's basement, you're basically traveling through a labyrinth, and this section is basically easier since the secret part was more stealthy. There's just more walking around and blinding a character with no eyes away. How do you blind a plant if it can't see you? After you walk around a bit and do a bit of hacking, the exit door will open and result in a trope that all indie horror games and massive horror games have, a chase sequence. The chase did feel a bit slow in my opinion. I felt like it could have been faster. Not as fast as the ones you would find in Finding Frankie, but maybe as fast as what Escape the Backrooms did with their hotel chase. That one part where you flash the Lurker was a start, but I'd love to see the chase be more fast-paced and implemented in future chase sequences in the upcoming chapters. The game ends at the elevator shaft, where we are taken to the surface. Well, at least that was supposed to happen until the elevator drops and we are taken to the credits screen instead. Glitched Out was a decent game in my opinion, but a great start to the path of game development. I do think this entire franchise has potential to improve and become very creepier. I do like the unique art style that Super Horror Bros decided to go with. It's always cool when people come up with unique art styles rather than stick with realism. Not saying it's like a bad thing though. I do think horror games should continue to make their environments have 3D real scans, just the up in the scare factor. But I honestly think it's really cool that people do share their art style through video games, just for texture work, not just like, pictures. And Glitched Out does this very well. I did think the character designs were amazing and fit the vibe of Glitched Out. The gameplay was decent. It's good, but not amazing, and it's also nothing new we've seen. The things I think Super Horror Bros should take note when developing Chapter 2 of Glitched Out is making chases more fast-paced and adding different puzzles rather than the same 3, which I do believe will happen. I do believe in future chapters we will see more and more get improved. Lighting, environments, and animations. I think Glitched Out has a bright future ahead, and I will check out Chapter 2 in the future. And that is all. Bye.